Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Ro Rockwell Podcast, episode 1,000,003, because we're losing track of how many episodes we're doing. We'll catch right back up later on, you guys, the audience. I know you guys are nitpicky about that, but we have a wonderful guest on the show today. Her name is Terry Berland. Let's make some noise for that.
Terry.
I said your name correctly, right, Terry?
Yes.
Okay. And she's a casting director with Terry Berland Casting. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, yes. So I'm sure a lot of you guys out there, young Hollywood, who is pursuing their dreams, you guys have heard of this casting agency, and we're just going to ask her some questions. Alex, you want to start it off?
Yeah. So Terry, what got you into casting?
Sorry. I forgot to introduce my co-host. I'm really sorry. Alexander Michael. Let's introduce Alexander Michael.
Hey, I'm this guy here.
Okay, let's go.
So Terry, what got you into casting? I mean, you are considered one of the greatest commercial casting directors around, and just from what people have told me, before I even reached out to you and wanted to have you as a guest here, I've gotten nothing but positive feedback.
Thank you. I actually started out in New York City many years ago. Like, it was my first job right after college. And at the time, there were no freelance casting directors. And Madison Avenue was the mecca for commercials. Okay. I mean, of course, I was after Mad Men, but, a lot of people know the TV show Mad Men, and most commercials were done in New York City and straight out of ad agencies. So, I got a job as an assistant and answered phones, and was looking around and learning. And at the time, I mean, it was a real job. Now anyone can call themselves a casting director, and their friends throw them a job and they're a casting director. But at the time, it was an actual job, and you had to be, to graduate out of an assistant to a casting director, someone actually had to give you that title. So, as everything, things have changed throughout the years. And if you survive, you go with the changes.
That's a great way to put it, because a lot of people do not want to adapt to the changes. They get stuck in their ways. And in order to survive, it's Darwinism, right? Survival of the fittest. So you got to adapt. Let me ask you this. Did you start off as pursuing being a casting director, or or did you start off in production, or how did you find that avenue?
I started I happened to stumble on a job in an ad agency, and there was a casting department, and I was fortunate enough to be put in the casting department. As I said, I was an assistant to, there were no emails at the time. And, basically answering the phones and learning on the job.
That's crazy.
Crazy that there were no emails at the time, right?
Well, yeah, I remember a time.
Okay.
I kind of vaguely, remember a time with no emails. But how did you transition from New York to LA? And actually, let's stay in New York right now, because the way you describe it, I picture like in the movies, like how New York was at that time. Is it like, was it very Mad Men-ish kind of environment, or was it more of like, is that accurately depicted through like the Mad Men thing, like the way it was?
Yes.
Yeah, it was?
Yes, no hesitation.
Okay.
I went after Mad Men, of course.
Yeah.
But it was still, Madison Avenue commercials, and there was the traditional ad agency. Now, that's old tradition now. It doesn't work that way anymore. Yeah.
So what's the difference between New York and LA?
There was a lot of parties.
Oh, really?
Ooh, Terry's a partier.
A lot of people were having affairs with each other.
Oh wow, I'm sure
There
that's the
was,
juicy details we want to hear.
I know, right? All right.
there was actually the ad agency had a room called Central Filing, which was the after hours bar, which we could go up to.
Okay.
So,
She's giving us all the juicy details.
people would work, the creatives, like the writers and the art directors, I mean, they would work through all hours of the night, over weekends. So it was like Mad Men, really, even though
was there drug use? I'm just curious because like I know like when they talk about Saturday Night Live and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah, there was, huh?
It was.
And it wasn't taboo at the time, right? It was just normal.
Well, I mean, it was against the law. I mean,
okay, that's true. That's a good point. It's still against the law.
Right.
Yeah. So what made you transition from New York to LA? And what was the difference that you saw immediately from like just the kind of casting you did and what the emphasis and the focus was in New York compared to LA?
Well, at the time, New York kind of looked down at their nose at commercials in LA because New York, we had actors, theater backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
and so, in LA at the time was more like commercial actors didn't even have like real kind of headshots. They had what was called composites with just a lot of looks.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, right? Okay, so as things evolved, casting in ad agencies dissolved because of budgets. Like clients used to pay for casting through the production that was done at the ad agency. And then that started changing, and commercial production companies started taking over that budget. So they started dissolving casting departments, and we were all out on our own as independents. And at the time, traveling from New York to LA for actors, it was like a local commute. Everyone would just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There was a definite pilot season, which there isn't a definite one now. And so it was just, and it was easy to fly. Then you could, if you had a 6 p.m. flight, you happened to get there at 4, and there was room on that flight, you could get on at 4.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was different. So anyway, as things evolved and I knew that I was going to be phased out, I was looking for a change. I always lived in New York, and I wanted a change. And I had a lot of casting people, friends who were casting directors in LA, and I always nurtured my relationships with them. And so I decided I wanted to move to LA and try it out and cast there. Long story short, connections and who you network with, no matter when, today too, which we'll get to, with actors, they're very important. And you never know, like, where that opportunity is going to come from. And you know what? It usually comes from left field. So it's really a good lesson for everyone. And since I'm talking mainly to actors too. So there was a talent agent, and they said, well, what do you want to do, when you're phased out? And I said, I'm going to try LA. And by the way, I had friends who were casting TV shows, and for about 1.5 years before I knew that I would definitely make the move, I was laying the groundwork. And I had a friend who was a casting director And I took a month off from my job because I was on staff. And I interned in his office. I was the head of a casting department at BBDO, which was the third largest in the world.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But I took time off to intern at my friend's office just to get the lay of the land and see what it was like.
And see, a lot of young people out there, they refuse to do that. And I think that's really enlightening to our young audience that you got to do things like that. Take a risk. I assume you weren't paid to intern. Were you? Were you a paid intern?
No.
Oh, yeah. See, and it worked out for you. And she said she laid the groundwork. She planned 3 steps ahead. She laid the groundwork in order to move to LA. Did you have a family at the time while you were in New York? Like your own family?
Oh, yeah.
I don't have kids, and I'm not married, so I was free, I had the freedom. So anyway, long story short, there was a casting company at the time called Lieberman Hirschfeld, and they were casting Party of Five, and they ended up casting Seinfeld, Larry Sanders Show, Grace Under Fire, and they found out that I wanted to be in LA, and they wanted a full service casting company. And of course they didn't have commercials. So again, long story short, we partnered and I ran the commercial department at the time at Lieberman Hirschfeld.
And what year was it?
Oh my God, it was like 25 years ago.
Okay.
So they were casting Seinfeld, and it was really exciting because actors who were comedy actors in New York, who of course I knew very, very well, and I knew they were coming out to LA, so I would tell the partners there, Lieberman Hirschfeld, oh, so-and-so, is coming to LA. He's really, really funny. And they'd see, I'd show them their picture and resume, and they'd say, sure, we'll try him out for this part on Seinfeld. And many of them booked it.
Nice.
So, it's very, very exciting time.
Wow.
And then things evolved, and that partnership ultimately didn't work out. And, so I went out on my own again.
So when was Berland? Is it Terry Berland Casting or Berland Casting? The name?
Well, I shortened it to Berland Casting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. When was that founded, and how was that experience? Was it like really like intimidating? Was it overwhelming? Or what year and how did you go about? I know it's a long process, but like how did you go about founding that company?
Okay. Well, when I came out to LA, I, again, like, even though it was a big change, I'm not this huge risk taker. So again, I was laying the groundwork. Like, I had a safety net. So there was someone in New York who wanted me to be their partner. And I said, I just have to do it. Like, something always comes right in front of me and I don't do it. Like, I just need to try living someplace else. So she said, well, why don't we be East Coast, West Coast associates? So at the time, I had all my producers from the ad agency who could feed me work. And then I had this associate where we'd feed each other work. So, that's how it happened. And then I did a lot of marketing on my own, like a lot of marketing.
Yeah. See, you may think that this story in your mind, it may be like boring, but it's not to us. And I want the audience to know, like, because we're all interested in this, and it's not always glamorous to open up your own company. There's a lot of minutia details you have to do, and like little things that are tedious that you have to do to create a company. It's not glamorous.
And actors are actually their own company.
That's
true. There's a
Can you say
lot.
that one more time, just for our actors on the show,
Actors,
audience.
you are in your own small business,
Mhm.
and you are it's your business, it's your small business.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to eventually get an agent. I know in the beginning, you can start now without an agent because of all the online breakdowns that do go, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them go out directly to actors. But you want an agent eventually for many reasons. And one of them is you need someone to stand up for you. So just say, you book a job. This is one example. You book a job and you get on set. First of all, when you book a job, you should know the terms of agreement. Absolutely know the terms of agreement.
Now, why do you think actors, I don't mean to cut you off, but why do you think actors don't know that? I mean, just how a contract works, how long you're supposed to be on set, what OT means, the difference between working non-union as an eligible actor and all this stuff from the casting director side of things.
Why do I think they don't know that?
Yeah, like a lot of them might have that misconception.
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Like, okay, so let's
He's
say
asking why are actors so dumb and why don't they take accountability? That's basically what he's trying to say. Why can't they just
finish? Let me just finish because I think I'm going to answer. Let me backtrack. Okay, so one of the reasons I think when actors first start out and they're not knowledgeable enough and they want it and they're hungry, so they'll take anything. And in taking anything, they don't look at the terms of agreement, which basically, how long are they going to use this film that they make? Let's just say a commercial. How long are they going to use it? If it says in perpetuity, which means forever, run away and don't take it.
Okay.
So just say it. I mean, no one should be able to use anything for what they pay you, which I'm sure is not a lot, and then use it forever and ever and ever. So although when you first start out, of course, that's a whole other conversation, like take jobs that aren't high paying because one thing leads to another. You have to assess, why you're taking it. So just say, the contract says you're going to work a 10-hour day. And this was on the breakdown. And there's a 3-month cutoff. And then you get on set and they hand you the terms of agreement, either a deal memo or a contract. And you should look it over and just say, it says, oh, they're using it for 2 years. But your original breakdown said 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a 15-hour day. It's not a 12-hour day. So if you have an agent, you say, oh, excuse me one moment, I'm just going to call my agent. And you call your agent and your agent takes care of it, because the last thing, straightening everything out, the last thing that you want is for you to start talking business on a set, where they're about to start filming you. And it puts you in a bad light. I promise you probably won't be able to stand up for yourself and do it. So you want an agent or a manager.
Let me ask you this, and I know some of these questions may be a little ignorant, but it's because our audience, a lot of them are beginning and they just started out, they just moved to LA and they're pursuing the acting world. You as a casting director, do you butt heads with agents, or you guys are on the same team kind of? Because I'm wondering, how does it, like, is the agent trying to ask you for more things, or are you guys working together? Or I know that sounds, I don't know, but I just want to know.
On a commercial level, we're really working together. I mean, me as a casting director, I want to balance so my client's happy and it's also fair to the actor. Like, I don't want to take advantage. I try to do a balance. I just cast some funny, wild, non-union spots for beef jerky, Cattleman's and they're always very wild.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first got the breakdown, it said in perpetuity. And I said, no, you can't do that. Like, you can't pay someone whatever it was, $1,200 and use it for life. Like, please
Yeah.
go back to your client and talk to them. And they did. And sure enough, it was cut down to a year's use.
I see. There's always ways to work that out, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Like through residuals or through commercials, most of the times they don't get residuals. Is that how it works?
Well, if it's non-union, there's no residual.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And unfortunately now, probably about 85% of commercials, it's a bad situation, are non-union. So why do I say it's bad?
Mm-hmm.
Because when everything was union, and for union actors, it's a career.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have a pension and welfare, and you have health insurance eventually, if you make enough. And so, it's a long-term career. So
this question is gonna really help settle things, because this is a big problem that a lot of young actors and even myself went through, where we just didn't know. So when you're SAG eligible in the beginning, say you become SAG eligible, take it if you're able to take it, because some people say don't, and everybody gives different answers. And I just want to ask from you if you have any opinion on that, because, to join SAG or not to join SAG.
Well, hold off, because on your resume, you would write SAG eligible.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you could do all kinds of non-union, but when you move into the realm of film and television, you want to be union, because television, it's almost now like two different careers almost. Like commercials, there's so much non-union, but to really move up the ranks in television, you have to be union.
Yeah.
So hold off, because you'll still be very much eligible. It says SAG eligible, so then you can be hired for a TV show. Because what happens is, when you're hired for something that's union, we as casting directors, we have to report everyone who we're hiring to the union, and then they clear you, or they say, oh, they're not union, so we have to write what's called a Taft-Hartley letter.
Okay.
And basically get you cleared through the union. Now, they can't stop you from working, but if they don't deem that, like if it's just a jogger and we hire, and it's a union commercial with the thousands and thousands and thousands, just a neighborhood jog, like a guy 25 jogging through his neighborhood, no lines, probably we would be fined if we hired someone non-union, because they say, there's probably 4,000 union people who would fit this, so they would fine me.
I see. And then the person who got casted, they can face repercussions as well, right? Sometimes they lie and say they're union. I don't know. Can they face repercussions as well?
Oh, they can face it if they're union and accept a non-union job.
Yeah, that's what I want to make clear to all the young actors.
No repercussions if you're non-union and we hire you for a union job. You don't get into trouble with that.
I see. You guys get into trouble, right?
If they don't clear my waiver for you.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, Terry, we have been talking with a lot of our guests about what self-awareness is, and kind of, being happy with yourself. A lot of stuff that's going on right now. We're indoors a lot more. What do those words kind of mean to you? Because I want to kind of get away and see, really, I want our audience to see who Terry is. We know you as the casting director and all these things, but who are you?
self-reflective. um, I am the same as you. I write blogs for LA Casting, or those of you who are not in the LA area, it's called Casting Networks. I'm a blog writer.
Shout out to Berlin.
Yeah, one of my blogs was about casting directors go through the same things that you go through as actors.
Mm-hmm.
So we, you know, I try to be really sensitive to your needs, and but yet, like, it's a business, so there has to be like a point where, okay, you know, it's crossed the line and we have to, you know, rather than self-reflective, I think I'll reveal some things about what we go through as a casting director, which are the same that you go through.
Okay.
How's that? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so if you get a little nervous coming to the audition, hopefully you get to a point where you're not, you know your technique and you feel very good about, sure of yourself. We get a little nervous too, because if you don't show up, we can't come through. We have to come through for our clients.
Wow.
We have no dress rehearsals. We have no rehearsals.
Right.
Like, we're given one day to cast. We better cast it. Otherwise, they'll never want to work with us again. So once we give you an appointment, now, you know, I look at everyone's reel. If you have a reel, of course, I look at your resumes, I look at you look. But if I've never worked with you before, like, I'm hoping you do a good job. I'm hoping, I get a little nervous, like, if the people in the morning don't show up, we're sitting there like with a waste of 45 minutes.
Right.
You know, like, what?
Yeah.
How are we going to make that up? How are we going to make up that 45 minutes, you know, of actors coming in? Because we have to give our clients numbers. Right. Although they have to be on target, they want to see volume. So we get a little nervous, you know. We have to all work together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one reveal, that, you know, we have feelings too.
Yes. Contrary to popular belief, they have.
Yeah, that's big. That's big. Can you say that one more time?
We have feelings too.
Yeah.
And we get nervous about things too. And we have a lot of cogs to the wheel on the day of the casting. We have a session, we have the actors who we need to come through. They need to be on time. So the flow can work. We have a session director who we trust and know. They have to do their job. Outside the room is a session runner. They have to know what they're doing, so they keep the actors flowing in and, you know, and they stay in a good mood. So there's a lot of moving parts. And also, there are many, many jobs where we'll get an email and they ask us for an estimate, and, you know, we want the job and we don't get the job.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
that's a big thing right there. Too. I love that you say that.
Yeah. I mean,
you are just.
And also, I just want to make it clear, like, so what she's saying to all you guys who get intimidated when you guys go into a casting room, they're not mad at you. They're going through their own thing. They're stressed out. Yeah, it's not your fault. It's not, as an actor. So don't take everything personally. Don't think like, oh, the person's stone cold face. They're not. It's not personal. That's what you're trying to say. Yeah.
We are only as good as the actors we bring in.
Mm-hmm.
So this might help you actors, and this might not, because you might get nervous. We depend on you.
Yeah.
Okay. Your agent is depending on you. Mm-hmm. If you have a manager, your manager is depending on you to do a good job. so when you leave your house in the morning for an audition, you should feel this flow of positive energy behind you, because the casting director who you're coming in for only wants you to do a good job, because we look like a piece of if you don't. And your manager is not going to make any money on you, or your agent, if you don't do a good job. And we'll think, what, why are they even representing them? So everybody is on your side, really. Everybody.
Yes. And your energy that you come into the room with can help brighten up that casting director who might be stressed out that day. If your energy is good, it might help the casting director that day, right? That's true, right? Like, come through with a burst of positive energy, right?
Come through with a burst of positive energy. And my very last blog was also about how you show up in the room. Your first moments of how you show up in the room can make or break your audition. Because just say you show up, let's use what you just used. Just say you show up with negative energy. And you're a really good actor. So like that energy, that negative energy, like we're feeling it and it's thrown things off. And then maybe you're doing, this was, for instance, for a film. And I was casting this film, and there was something negative that happened when he first walked in the room. And he was a very good actor, but it took a good solid quarter of his audition for the energy to change in the room. And there's not enough time, because and actually when it came time to assess, at the end, then they go through who they're considering, and then they talk about each person, and that was actually mentioned. And so he got ultimately, because of that, it added into the equation of why someone else would do a better job that day than him.
Oh, wow. See, like even the minimal things can mess up your whole thing. You could be the greatest actor in the world, but those small things can add up when it's on the Libra scale. So I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And you know what? The only thing you have control over as an actor is your audition. So you want to give a really good audition. You want to make really strong choices. And then again, you're going to make strong choices, and you're going to come in the room, and then you might get thrown because we'll change your choices. So, there are so many things that can't throw you, but ultimately your choices when you walk in the room are really the only thing that you have control over, that you don't have control over anything else.
I see. Let me ask you this, and this is going to be to help our young audience. Do you ever cast?
Question is it?
Okay, well, do you ever cast a less talented actor than a more talented actor based on just the fit for the role? Just whether where it's like kind of obvious that one actor is less talented than the other, but the role fits that one actor. I know maybe that's a question you get often, but just for our audience, yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, right. That's how I can't take things personally. Yeah.
But you said something interesting. You said do you ever cast? So this is a good time to bring up that a casting director, like we're the gatekeeper, we're the first kind of, gate that you have to get through because we're hired to sought out from the thousands and thousands and thousands who we think would be good for the part, and give a nice, healthy selection in the allotted time to our clients. After that, the casting director is not part of the selection process. So you should really, really know for each venue, like commercials has a certain selection process, film has a certain selection process, TV. So the actors out there who are starting out should understand the process for each venue they're going through.
Mhm.
Later on in the year, I actually have an online course that will be available, and that's going to visually take the actors from the time they walk into a casting studio all the way through. And this is the most exciting because you actors can never be in that room when the selection process is, when they're going through the selection process. This course will take you into that callback room and take you through the selection process. It's really exciting.
That's beautiful. That's what everybody wants to know, because like you said, actors can never be in their room. They always want to be a fly on the wall. And this is is there a website that they can sign up for it ahead of time, or is it not out yet? Or?
It's not out yet, but we're very my company on Instagram is very, very active at Berland, Berland casting.
Okay.
I do have a website for my acting, for my coaching, which is Terry Berland Workshops.
Okay.
And we're on Facebook too, but the Instagram seems to, have the most.
Everybody's on Instagram nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I have this book, Breaking into Commercials.
Ooh.
Wow. Wait. You can't just slide that. Amazing, Terry.
Yeah, it's on its 3rd edition. And this takes you A to Z through the commercial process.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there, because I've seen over the years different commercial workshops pop up, different casting directors, different acting teachers. Is there any that you feel like you resonate with that are saying the same message? Or do you feel like, this is one of a kind, you're getting it straight from a casting director? Like, if that question kind of makes sense.
My commercial workshop is Commercial Acting Workshop, and I actually base it on fundamental acting and short scene study.
Mm-hmm.
Because a commercial is a short scene. So how, with 6 words, like in my workshop, the end of the first night, it's 6 weeks, it's 5 weeks with me. And then the last week I have an agent educational evening. For right now, everything's online. And after the first night, even people who aren't actors and I have to teach them the shortcut to acting, they will walk out at the end of the first night with being able, with 6 words, to create a short scene. So they feel specifically in a scene with a particular personality. I think it's going to be this Friday. I have to get it together. I'm going to have a free, while we're all homebound. I started this series, Acting Tips and Chats.
Right. I was at your last
one.
one.
I first met you.
Yes.
And I'm going to do another one. I'm going to aim for Friday, where this time I'm going to put a Zoom invitation out there. And I'm going to, the acting tip is how to get in touch with your empowerment, what empowers you.
Okay.
Yeah, because you need that. Because in a commercial, in less than sometimes a half a minute, you have to let out who you are and how you feel. They're looking for opinionated people.
Right.
And you have to feel your empowerment to be able to do that. And what's really great too is once you can get in touch with your empowerment, when you can use it all the time. When you walk into, for instance, a callback room and something throws you, you need to go someplace in yourself where you feel empowered so you don't fall apart.
That's so true. Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where, because I mean, you are just elegant in the way that you're describing just your vision for commercials, how you cast.
You're one of my favorite guests so far, and I thank you so much. Not to cut
Oh,
him off, but honestly, this is so
yeah.
informative. Sorry, Alex, keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, no worries. Has there ever been a time that you looked like that you might have wanted to try casting for TV? I mean, why commercials?
There was a time. Yeah, definitely. It didn't happen. But I do cast now a lot of independent films.
Okay.
So that's really cool. I cast a lot of voiceovers, animation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and sometimes your career doesn't go exactly the way that you want it to. And this is a really good lesson for actors too.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, I'm known for casting the infamous Taco Bell Chihuahua voice.
Oh, let's make some noise for that.
I know, right. That one's gone down in commercials.
That's legendary. Very legendary.
So, a brilliant comedic actor, Carlos Alazraqui, who since has done a lot of, he's in a lot of animated film, TV shows, does a lot of characters. And I remember at the time, all he wanted was a TV show. Like, that's what he wanted. And he didn't get it. But yet, he got this Taco Bell Chihuahua voice where, how much money can we guess?
I can't even guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
And then later, at another time, he did get a TV show, Reno 911. Yeah. But at the time that he got this Chihuahua voice, like, he didn't really want it. You know, he was getting booked on voiceovers, but that's not what he really wanted.
Yeah.
So as an actor, you know, it's an interesting balance because you have to stay focused, but I'm going to say you have to balance also not only doing one thing or going after one thing. For instance, you want to be ready through your training for film and for television and for commercials and for voiceover. By the way, voiceover now, whoa.
That's the dream job for a lot of people, voiceover. Like, it seems like a lot of people are training for that more than becoming. Yeah.
In fact, I have a core voiceover workshop coming up April 25th. It's a full day online one that I do with Nick Omana. I teach it with him, and we start a lot of people out on voiceover. What's happening with voiceover now, because of online, and I don't mean our state now of, you know, staying at home to be safe till we get through this. But voiceovers there's more auditionings online now than through casting directors. So what's happening is, so there used to be specific voiceover agents. So because now that everything can be done online, almost every single boutique agency can say they have a voiceover department. They don't have to bring people in to read into their booths, and they see there's voiceover breakdowns going out not only directly to agents, not only through casting directors, but on the regular breakdowns now too, on Casting Networks, Casting Frontier, and Actors Access. So there's voiceover opportunities all over the place. Plus there's online specific voiceover breakdown online places. Now, that's not to say it's easy. You know, there's a lot of opportunities. and there's a lot of people vying for those opportunities. So you have to really know what you're doing.
You still have to have the training. You still have to have the talent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything. That's amazing.
Could I ask you a quick question? Are you guys in casting directors in general? Because I'm noticing, especially with the younger generation, they don't even watch movies or like, and I know you deal with commercials and things like that, but they're more like, because the ADHD generation, do you think a lot more casting, is casting agency a word? Is that a thing? Or casting companies, let's call it that. I don't know. But like, do you think
casting directors and then
directors, okay.
So we're not, thank goodness you're not saying, otherwise I would have corrected you. Thank goodness you're not calling us casting agents.
Yeah, I had to ask. I know. Alex told me about that. He wanted about that.
We don't take money from actors. You know,
Yeah.
we don't.
Do you see a lot of these company or these directors going towards casting YouTube web series and things like that, or is it going to stay? Because I don't even like. I wonder if these kids even know who Will Smith is. Sometimes they know who the biggest YouTube star is, and even I'm trying to adapt. I don't know who, but I'm noticing the kids, they really love the YouTube. You know, and I sound like an old man myself, but these kids love the YouTube. Yeah, so I'm just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Any really, really good actor who's in an theatrical acting class, which everyone should be, not only to become a better actor, but to feel good every week that you're acting in a class, like that's acting, and that you're working out your craft. So I would imagine that certain prototypes are thrown around, and I still, like, actors should be aware, like in commercials, we'll use prototypes from popular TV shows. So an actor, I have to do it too. I can hardly keep up, like be aware of what shows are on TV and what kind of characters are in these shows, roles are in these shows. Because one of the things eventually, what you want to do as an actor is you want to go after the TV shows that you want. You want to keep an eye on it. So you want to know which shows you're good for, right for, not good for. And, you know, I know what you're saying. You know, everything is, there's more and more short format TV series, like YouTube series. It's very, very popular. And guess what? CAA discovers actually talent from watching those. Yeah. So I know we have to be careful. I don't know where it's going to go because of shortcuts and internet, and like where we get compromised, where our craft becomes compromised. And you know, things have changed. I mean, we're very compromised as it is already. I don't know how compromised it's gonna get.
Yeah, things have changed. The actor who studies Shakespeare and they see a YouTube star doing a web series acting goofy, they may feel a certain type of way in their heart, but it's what you choose, it's how you adapt, it's what you want for your career and things like that. It'll all work out according to what your mindset is. So yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, let's see what happens in, you know, the people who study acting in college, you know, where it's their major. I mean, they still get that training where there's reference to film stars and classic film and theater. And, you know, you have the actors who start out in drama school, and then the actors who don't. And what's really interesting is the actors who start out in college drama, yes, it's very, very impressive. But once they get out in the real world, like, they can't depend on that. They have to start studying with, you know, very substantial acting coaches, whether they're in New York or LA or Chicago.
Do you recommend actors to go to school first before they hit the New York pavement or the LA pavement, like a Viola Davis going to NYU is coming out of my mind, but it's not NYU. She Juilliard. She went to
Oh,
Juilliard, right? We have the NYU, the USCs, UCLAs, and the list goes on. Do you recommend actors to do that if they were to, you know, make the leap, right? And say, hey, I think I want to do this and I think I can. I'm watching this show and this amazing casting director is on here and she's giving some advice. What do you think actors should do?
I think actors should have a college education. It helps you being well-rounded. And if you're fortunate enough to get in someplace and can afford it, there's more that you get out of a college education than just the classes.
I got a college education, UCR business. Shout out to UC Riverside, but sorry to interrupt. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. Everyone has their path. I'll tell you a really interesting one, and it comes up, not that much, but it comes up where we run into actors who studied medicine and they were doctors and they left medicine to be actors.
Ken Jeong, right? Dr. Ken Jeong.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Or certainly businessmen.
Yeah.
You know, they have this creative part of their mind that they have to live out.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do you have left, if you don't mind me asking? I know you're a busy woman. You're the owner of a casting agency. You got a lot of work to do. But how much time do you have left right now?
Today?
Yeah, for this interview.
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay. So I think what Alex was trying to ask also, like, because people they wonder whether they should join an acting school, not necessarily college or things like that, but like an acting school or just go raw. Some of these actors who really make it are talented, it seems like a lot of their gift is being raw talent and not being in their head too much because they don't know enough. They're ignorant. What would you say about that?
I would say you never want to get polished from an acting class,
Okay.
But I know there are actors who say they never took an acting class. That's not many people. And I really don't see how that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, even just because most of your job as an actor until you become a celebrity is auditioning, not acting. Your job is auditioning, auditioning well, being happy auditioning, and then the acting jobs come in between that. So, like I said before, I mean, to go to an acting class and, you know, when you're advanced, an advanced one, where you're working out with people and peeling that onion and just feeling it. I mean, being an actor to me is like a vampire, you know, who needs to suck the blood at night or something. And if you don't get that charge, like, you'll just die inside. So if you don't have a class to work it out, I'm not sure where you get it.
Yeah, because you can't do it at home. It's like, it's not music. It's not, you can't just sit at home and do scenes. That enlightened me. So I appreciate that answer.
And you know what? I think you network in acting classes.
That's true.
And, you know, I find that actors are very, very generous with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll share projects they know about. Or if you don't have an agent yet and they really like your work in class, so many times they'll say, why don't I introduce you to my agent? You know, and agents get a lot of their people that way through their other clients. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that, because it seems like a lot of people compete with. Sometimes I have friends who have like, they don't want to give me any information. I'm like, we're totally different roles. What do you even why you don't want to help me? Like, I would help you, because people need to help each other, because we're not always in competition. The Asian male is not going to be in competition with the Indian male, and the long-haired Indian males. So we should all combine and help give our resources. That's one thing Alex is good at. Alex always is very generous with his resources and with his knowledge, because like, I come from a music background, and I'm just starting this acting journey, and I'm enjoying it, but I'm also, that's why some of the questions may seem a little ignorant or naive, but yeah, that's I'm just learning. So yeah.
Well, for commercials, music background is really, really great, because for commercials, there's such a thing as special skills.
Mm-hmm.
And now the trend in commercials is, for instance, if they're looking for a musician,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're not really playing, they
like.
walk in the scene, and they're supposed to be we want real musicians.
Yeah.
Because there's a different feel to them.
Yes.
Yeah. So and then of course there are a lot of spots where they do need actual musicians. So your special skills are very important for a commercial.
That's good
on your resume.
That's good to know. I have one last question. Alex, you can follow up with this, because he got into what kind of fulfillment do you get out of, like, personal fulfillment do you get out of being a casting director, and even owning your own company? Because not many people could say that they own their own casting company. What does it do for you, like, soul wise?
That's good.
I like the process of an idea and being a part of making an idea come to light.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of makes it seem like everything's possible. I kind of use it as a life lesson, because I'll get a breakdown sometimes, and I look at it and I say, how am I ever going to find that? Like, where am I going to find that person? And it's a great life lesson for me, that so you put it out there, and it takes a little time to germinate.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, submissions start coming to you. And then if you give it a couple of days, more and more and more and more, and then you bring the people in, and the role starts coming to life, and all of a sudden, like, you find someone. So what's very enlightening to me, and a life lesson to me, is that sometimes when you think something isn't possible, if you really put the energy out there and be focused on what you want to find, you sort of get into that world of whatever that is, and it is there. You will find it.
That was a great answer. I appreciate that, because it was great, because we want to know everybody got to do something that they love to do, and it has to feed your soul. If you're doing something that doesn't feed your soul, you're empty inside. That's what I believe, at least.
Yeah.
So.
Now, also, we all evolve.
Yeah.
Like, my casting has evolved. I started teaching when way back in New York, when a bunch of theater actors came to me and said, we want to do commercials. Can you teach us how to do it? And I said, I don't know if I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I started out with a group who I knew, and they started booking. I went, oh, this is interesting. And so, I've been teaching for all these years. And now, I told you I teach based on a short scene. So now my teaching has evolved into short scene study for commercials, backstories, and who you are, and what's empowering you. And so, we all evolve. Actors evolve too.
Yes. Some actors should start their own agencies. I don't understand. Maybe there's a lot of politics. I don't understand why some of these actors have not done that yet, but that's another story. But like you said, like you can use one thing to diversify what you're contributing to humankind, and like you're teaching acting workshops, agency. You know, you're giving a lot of knowledge that's not just totally based around casting, but casting leads to all that, and that's what people need to realize. One thing could lead to another, and once you have one foot in the door, you can help in other ways. And casting is such an important, integral part in our industry that people's lives are like based upon it, you know, whether you get cast or not. And I think it's very interesting, and I'm very grateful that you enlighten us about that, because we're all learning from this, and we can see, because people think casting, it's like cold. Oh, it's like going to a job interview or something and they're just cold. But no, they're human beings as well, and they're going through their things, and they want you to succeed. If they want you to succeed, if not more than you want yourself to succeed. So yeah.
I mean, we're under a lot of pressure when we're on a project, a lot. And, you know, we can't answer phone calls. We can't give you feedback. We can't do this. We can't do that, because we're doing this for our producers, who are very, very, very demanding. So it's a very, very, very pressured job.
Yeah.
That's amazing. To kind of close out here, Terry, I'd love for our listeners to take one actionable or one successful tip from you, if you could, not just as an actor, but just as a woman running her own shop, as someone who's a go-getter, as someone who is looking at current situation, not using it as an excuse, but to just overall anybody who wants to hear from you.
I think you have to believe in yourself. You have to be very knowledgeable. It's like someone who says, I want to be a doctor. You can't just be a doctor because you say you want to be a doctor. Same for actors, casting directors. And I find there's a lot of hard knocks. You have to have a lot of faith, and find the faith however way that you can find it to keep going. And there might be a time where you say, I've had enough, like this isn't for me. And then you go with the flow and you change course. But I will say, actors, like if you really do your studying and get better and better and better and better, you'll be known in the industry on whatever level. As in this case, we're talking about acting, as a good actor. You know, even on the, you know, if you're talking about a celebrity or a big film, I'm going to say on the lowest level of commercial, just say, we'll know who's good and who isn't good eventually. So just trust, do your work, love what you're doing, get better and better at it, and things will come to you.
That's beautiful. I think that's a perfect note to leave it off on. And I hope we can do like a part 2 eventually, maybe in the studio or something, because we film in, we have a studio in LA and in Orange County. Yeah, and I have so many more questions to ask you, but I just want, knowledge is only able to digest in like small quantities sometimes. So let's leave the people with this. Thank you so much. And do you want to promote anything, last a few words, anything you need to plug or anything like that? Workshop?
Well, you asked me, you know, what I love about my job. And speaking of evolving, and I did start teaching many years ago. I love, at this point in my career, I love teaching. And I love, like, after actors come out of a class with me, the on camera, like they get agents. You'll see on Instagram, this one got an agent, and that one signed, and that one signed, and this one booked, and that one booked. And at this point in my career, I've evolved where, like, I love helping people. I have the knowledge, and I love giving the knowledge. So I do have a core voiceover kickstart day, and one day you get all the basics. It is online now, April 25th, and Terry Berland workshops.com. Everything's listed there. And not sure when this podcast is coming out, but during the stay home, I do watch on Instagram at Berland Casting, because I'm giving a lot of free Zoom acting tips and chats.
Nice.
Amazing.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Like, I'm definitely tuning into all the workshops and everything. Everything I could possibly tune into. And once this quarantine is over, I'll be there in person, because I enjoy your energy. I enjoy your ability to spread your knowledge, because a lot of people don't want to share just inherently because, oh man, they might get my knowledge. No, but you've been very generous with your knowledge, and I appreciate you so much. And let's make some noise. Terry Berland.
Terry Berland.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really.
Just one more time, could you say your handles at Instagram for our audience?
At Berland, Berland Casting.
Okay. And again, with any casting director that we interview, don't bombard them, because if you send them 5 emails, they won't even look at one. So be concise with your emails if you do email them, and don't ask stupid questions to them. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day and stay safe.
Everyone, stay safe, stay well.
Yes,
Most
ma'am.
important right now. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Terry. Have a great one.
Thank you. Bye.
Go ahead.
All right. How'd you feel about this one?
That was awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
This is great. She is amazing. Legendary.
For
She
real.
was involved in casting Seinfeld, the Chihuahua dog, and I'm sure there's even more things that we don't do these interviews to make people show out their accolades. Eventually, when we do the part 2, they can talk about everything they've done, but that's not this kind of podcast for people to just, I'm sure she has way more accolades than that, because she's a legend. Okay. But she gave you guys knowledge, and you guys got to, like how Alex was doing. I saw you, Alex, taking down notes while she's talking. You guys got to do that out there. Don't just listen, actively listen. Make sure that knowledge goes into your brain. Anything, what do you want to say about that, Alex?
No, absolutely. I mean, Terry's chock full of phenomenal, just really simple tips and things that you can do in your life that you can apply immediately. I love people like that.
Yeah.
And pure testimonial, because I did her webinar. She knows what she's talking about. She's the truth. The girl's the truth.
Sure. And everybody check that out. Love y'all. Ro Rockwell Podcast. We'll put all these up, and we'll eventually get the number right of what episode we're on. But you guys should be blessed and grateful, like as we are grateful for you as listeners. But we giving you content. It's free content. You know what I'm saying? This is gems. You would have to pay $300, $400 to go to a workshop to hear this kind of content. These people are being generous, so pay them their respects. Comment on their Instagram post, Berland Casting at Berland Casting on IG. Comment, give her praise, share it with other people, because if you're tuning in, you're learning just as much as me and him are learning. So I appreciate y'all. And me and Alex will come back tomorrow. And we'll also do our little, because there's a lot of stuff in the world I want to talk about. We're not ready for it yet. We got too much knowledge to drop. But we'll talk about the ratchetness and the dumb shit going on in the world and the good shit. So love y'all. Ro Rockwell Podcast. Thank you, Alex. We out.
Peace out. Peace.